Hey everyone, I'm Albert Boris. Roughly a month ago, I looked at the first 4 boards of the first Mario Party game and looked at what I would have personally fixed if I were to remake them in an upcoming game. And now, roughly 30 days later, I'm finally feeling like looking at the last 4 boards of the game too. What, you thought I decided to take an eternal break? Well, I did start a new channel actually, where I'll talk about Percy Jackson content, links in description, make sure to subscribe if you like this series. Don't worry, I'll still run this channel too, but with that being said, let's get started. So a couple of days ago, I posted a poll asking you what you think is my favorite board in Mario Party. Well, psych, it's none of them. Warios Battle Canyon is my favorite board of all time because I hate myself and want Virtual Oris to have fun.
You want? Oh, Albert. Deep down, I never actually hate.
Ha, just kidding, it's Clockwork Castle. Now, as for Warios Battle Canyon, it's not even that the core gameplay is bad. I hate island hopping with a passion, but it could have actually worked on this board. It's just that there are so many bad details to how it was played out. And you know what that means? If the core gameplay is good and the only problems are the details, this is going to be easy to fix and fun. First off, let's add a Koopa Bank space to the red Bob-omb Islands, as you start on one of them and the other one is the third island you normally visit, which would space out the time you get to them both. I've also added an item shop to each of the 2 larger islands, just because you'll probably have enough money by the time you get to them. Anyways, let's do the spicy stuff. Why is this board so awful to begin with? Well, it's the combination of the bob-ombs of each island forcing you to hop over to the next island as soon as you loop it, and the fact that it's random which space on the next island you land on. Okay, sure, there's a pattern, but it makes so little sense that in the end it still ends up being RNG. You may land on the same island as a star, but because you happen to land one space ahead of it, you have to loop every single island to get back, or someone else gets it before you. It's downright unplayable, unless you're a masochist. But there's a really easy way to solve the issue with this board. Make the pattern actually predictable. Maybe make it the same pattern as the Wheel of Wonders in Bowser's pinball machine for Mario Party DS. It would still be difficult, but it would also be much more obvious over time how you're supposed to handle this. It's not supposed to be easy, but it's not supposed to be game-breakingly difficult either. You might not get the pattern the first time you play it, but the more and more you enter these cannons and make landings, the more sense it will make when you should push the button. And that, my dear friends, is how you make Warios Battle Canyon actually playable. And that's the biggest change I wanted to make. I also made a few minor changes to the map as well. I removed 1 space from the top left island and 2 spaces from the bottom right island because they were just way too big in their current state. I also replaced a bunch of spaces with other ones on the right islands, to make them a little more interesting. I also made changes to the Bowser zone, adding in far more chaotic spaces to symbolize the fact that it's a dreadful zone, which also includes a chance time. Because would you know, the original board doesn't have a chance time for some reason. And overall, this is my version of Warios Battle Canyon. It not only fixes the core gameplay of this map to make it playable, but it also makes each of the 4 islands a little more interesting than they were at first. I think this version of the map could actually be pretty fun to play, as opposed to its current broken version. So, let's go over a slightly less flawed board in this game instead now. Now, if I'm completely honest, out of all of my versions of Mario Party 1 boards, if they were a reality, I think that Luigi's Engine Room would probably be my favorite board of them all. If you watched my Mario Party Superstars board ranking, you'll know that Woody Woods is one of my favorite boards of all time, thanks to reversing arrows. And would you know what? That gimmick was actually first experimented on back in Mario Party 1 on this board. The only issue is, it's not as refined as it was in Woody Woods. As it stands now, it has a lot of minor flaws that just kind of ruin the experience. The reversing pathways can be used to make the game more skill-based, but only when there's enough spaces in between them, so that one roll doesn't take you through 2 gates at once. As it stands now, How is anyone gonna be able to strategize on this board? I don't mind the first set of gates, but only 4 spaces up is another one. If you happen to stand right before the first set on a blue turn, you will more often than not be forced to take the left turn when you roll the next turn, just because it's 4 spaces apart. It's even worse because to the left of that is another set of gates, just 3 spaces away. Like, you just kind of roll along with things on this board. But this can easily be solved, however, by removing this set of gates at the top and making it a normal junction. The first set of gates makes sense. It's the center of the board, near the start. And the other ones by the pipes make sense too, because you can either take a detour or go directly to the pipe. But that top one makes no sense. Even if the gates add strategy, there should at least be a few moments where you can control your own character, like in Woody Woods. And that's probably the most important change I'd make. After all, the top junction is the most important one, as it decides whether you go to the left or right side of the board. I'd also change the Boo location. Like in DK's Jungle Adventure, he gets passed far too often. Instead, I'm going to put him up here. Now you can choose whether you want to go to the pipe immediately or if you want to take a detour to get some coins or a star. So, what else? Oh yes, item shops, chance time, Koopa banks, where should we put them? Let's do it here. This is one of the boards that would most certainly be improved with these features. As it stands now, it's just kind of boring. You just go hunting the star, that's the only thing that will motivate you to pick a certain path. Well now, every single pathway has one thing that the other does not. One route may be shorter to the star or pipe, but another pathway may host a few item shops, some Koopa banks and heck, maybe even chance time. Or the aforementioned Boo. When all pathways have one thing the other does not, there's so much more to think of, rather than just the star, which is fitting for a 3-star board. Overall, that's Luigi's Engine Room Deluxe. Probably my favorite redesign of a board from Mario Party 1, which admittedly isn't saying too much as it already was okay in the original, but hey, it's better now. Now, Bowser's Magma Mountain is probably a board you'll be surprised to hear me talk about, because to be frank, I don't think there are a lot of problems with this one. Yeah, sure, I know everyone hates it because of how harsh and punishing it is. That's exactly why it's so great, and it's why Bowser Land in Mario Party 2 is so mediocre in comparison. This board is unfair, yes, but it's to everyone. You just have to get used to it, like life. But I don't deny that it has room for improvement. The main gimmick is obviously the gates. Not the same kinds of gates as an engine room, but still gates. If you pay 10 coins, you may have a chance to skip a part of the board to more quickly traverse to the top of the mountain. But it's all RNG. But I like that. It's a risk versus reward type of gimmick, and it's all on you. You make the choice, not the game. And even if you don't win the bet, you can still progress as usual, only you have a larger distance to account for. The only time it's a matter of life and death is the top gate, which will either send you to Boo or Bowser. I'm sorry, but I think this is good as it is. However, I've decided to remove the third gate and replace it with a skeleton key door. The first 2 gates are fine as they are, as it's a risk versus reward matter if you want to climb the peak quickly. Not to mention, I want to have an item shop before the first gate so everyone gets a chance to buy one. But the third gate, instead of getting you closer to the mountain peak, more or less just sends you back to the start, which may or may not be good depending on the circumstances. And I'm also putting an item shop after it, to compensate for not being able to steal from Boo or buying the first star. The point is, maybe you don't want to be part of this madness. Well, if you bought the key, then you can start again from square one if you feel like. Because to be fair, 4 gates is a little excessive of luck. And I've also decided that when you land on an event space, instead of every space turning red, I'd like instead for the blue and red spaces to be swapped. That way we still have a few blue spaces, so literally no one has more than 1 coin at a time. Oh, and also let's add some Koopa banks here and there. Overall, that's my version of Bowser's Magma Mountain. A rather unchanged edition. I didn't think it had many problems to begin with, and whatever problems there were, they were easily fixable. I know people will disagree with that, but hey, my video, my version. And so we arrive at the final unlockable board of the game, Eternal Star. In my opinion, probably the most difficult board to fix. It's one of the most unique boards of the entire series, where there are 7 Koopa Kids scattered around the board and you need to win stars from them by betting 20 coins, and if you roll higher than them, you win 1. But if you lose the bet, you lose a star. But the player's dice is rigged to only roll 8 to 10, so it could be worse. I don't want to change too much because that would ruin the feel of the board. But first off, let's scatter some Koopa banks and item shops across the map and make them relatively far away from each other. I'm also adding 2 additional spaces to the start, because I think 2 spaces before junction is a little low. Now as for gameplay changes, I think the way gaining star works on this board is fine. Pay 20 coins and have an 80% chance of winning is interesting. But why the hell do you lose a star if you don't win the bet? Isn't losing 20 coins in vain harsh enough? Why would I even risk betting for a star if I may lose one instead? Then I'm instead happy with what I have. So I removed the Z-tar of this board. It feels bad enough to already have lost 20 coins in vain. No need to further humiliate me. And on another note, let's turn all the Koopa kids into Koopalings, and make each Koopaling have their own type of dice game. For example, maybe Wendy could roll the same type of dice as the player does, and Iggy could force you to have a 1 to 3 dice. It would make each star space much more unique, adding more personality to their border play. It's not really a necessity though. The most important thing is getting rid of the Z-tar. Koopalings are merely a bonus that may or may not actually be very practical. So, in the end, that concludes our final Mario Party 1 board, revisualized.
Your ideas are terrible. I'm not even gonna mention how brutal my new birthday cake is or how Tropical Island becomes way too easy. Warios Canyon was great because of the luck, and Engine Room too. Why did he not fix the worst boards, Magma Mountain and Eternal Star?
Maybe because this is my video and my opinions. I will give you, however, that I could care less about my new version of Yoshi's Tropical Island because the addition of items in Superstars essentially already solved the luck issue with it. And I'm effectively neutral on Birthday Cake because either of the 3 versions have their ups and downs. But overall, that was my version of these boards.
Din lilla.
So what do you think of my versions of the Mario Party 1 boards? Which ones did you like the most? And how would you fix the Mario Party 1 boards? Please let me know down below. If you like this video, then please like, share and subscribe to my channel, as that would help me a lot. With that being said, I'm signing off.